Well, something you do have, your new framework. How's that going for you?
Oh my gosh. So I've been doing this off and on for like about a week now. I moved. So I was previously using a really old Linux laptop that's got like 8 gigs of RAM, 4 cores, 200 128 gigs storage. It was so small I could barely store Chromium on there and have to build and Linux kernels to build code. I was deleting stuff just trying to make everything fit. I was like, all right, I am doing so much crap. I need a machine that's actually powerful at home, and let's see if I can get something I can travel with. So first thing is the Framework 16 is phenomenal. It feels great. I also was crazy. I got the Rainbow Vomit version. That means I've got rainbow colorways on the side cups, and I've got an RGB keyboard on the thing. I have not yet figured out how to configure it. I am going to figure that out, and then I'm going to do crazy things with it, especially with Plasma 6.1 being able to support mapping the color accent to the RGB. That's going to be fun.
I did hear about that, yeah.
That is absolutely going to be fun. I am looking forward to that. But this thing is heavy. It is almost 6 pounds. I cannot carry this around. So this is staying at home, and it's probably just going to move around with me while I'm walking around the house, but it absolutely is not traveling with me. It is too heavy. But I've been very pleased with how easy it has been to bring everything up. Having all the hardware work has been really nice. It's also interesting going back to a non-widescreen aspect ratio on a screen.
What is the aspect ratio on it?
I think it's 3:2.
Oh. Okay, I thought that screen looked a little bit odd. Yeah, it is. Huh.
Yeah, I think it's 3:2. It's been almost, oh gosh, what was it, 15 years since I've had a computer screen that wasn't 16:9. Like the last time I had one was 5:4. It was 1280 by 1024. It was a Dell Ultra Sharp monitor that I got with a Dell Dimension 5100C, I want to say. I don't remember, but it was a Windows XP Media Center computer, and I had the old fancy like IR Blaster and XP Media Center stuff, and I had it plugged in with a TV tuner that connected out to cable TV, and I had it doing the DVR thing and all that stuff. But it did come with an LCD monitor. It was my first LCD monitor, and it was 5:4. But that was the first and last computer screen until now where I had something that wasn't 16:9 for a flat panel. Because I think it was shortly after that everyone got onto the HD craze.
Yeah.
And so we went from having square and more squarish aspect ratios to fully cinematic ones.
What, like with the
and of course
the like ultra wides? Is that what you're talking about? Or yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, so we went from ultra wides are the newest,
right,
but originally, like when we went to the HD thing where they were talking about HD TVs and whatever.
Oh,
they went to widescreen.
Yeah.
Remember, 15 years ago, ultra wide was not a thing yet.
No,
ultra wide has only been a
15
thing.
years ago. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was like 10 years old then. I was 11 years old.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm so old. I remember CRT TVs. Like
we had a CRT TV, but I didn't know what CRT was back then. We just had an old TV.
I had CRT monitors, VGA cables, and everything. I did it analog back then. But yeah, like this framework gives me kind of echoes of the time when I first, in the early days. And I think I like it. I like having a screen that isn't cinematic, because for document work and for code stuff, it's a lot nicer. I know a lot of people, what they do is they do the dual monitor thing, and then they have a second monitor that's rotated portrait to kind of make up for it. But I don't have the space.
That's fair.
Like I upgraded to an ultra wide this last year, so now I have a 1080p ultra wide, so it's 2560 by 1080. But it's also VRR enabled and high refresh rate.
Ooh.
Which I have been super scared to use that full time. Because because it's so good, and I feel spoiled when I go to something else if I stare at it for too long. And so I've just not been turning it on. I've been turning it down. Although the other side effect is that the computer isn't as loud when I'm at 60 hertz as opposed to 165 or 200. This monitor can go up to 200 hertz. So, but I have to plug it into DisplayPort, and I don't like DisplayPort because stupid little prong things. And yes, I know that there are cables that don't have them, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't like them.
So that
but
one,
overall,
what system are you plugging that one into, or do you swap it around depending on what you're using?
so this is plugged into a two display KVM,
Mhm.
hardware KVM,
Mhm.
that is using 4K60 HDMI 2.0. And then that HDMI 2.0 is going into a USB-C hub
Mhm.
that is then plugged into my laptop.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
the reason it was doing that is because I don't actually have enough USB-A ports to plug in everything. So I needed a hub so I could plug in everything back into the. Because silly me, I
Right.
only bought one USB-A thingy instead of, three. And
How? Wait. What are you plugging into this system?
well, so my keyboard and mouse needs
Right.
a USB-A port.
Sure. Yeah, that's
And
fair.
the USB hub that I have that I plug in most of my devices, I have a 10-port USB 2.0 hub.
Uh-huh.
That needs to be plugged into a USB-A port.
Right.
And my webcam is a USB-A 3.2. So
Okay.
I need three.
Okay, it's not as much as I thought then. Okay, that's fair.
But like I bought a 1 terabyte card.
Right.
I bought two USB-C, one USB-A, a display port, and an HDMI. And so I just don't have enough. I didn't pick the right combo, and I didn't realize it until after I got the computer and tried to set it up. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, I don't have the right combo for this.
Well, luckily you can get more of them.
I did, in fact, get more of them. See, more. It actually, that is another thing that I'm super happy about. Like, this was an unexpected thing that was great about it. It was like being able to swap out the connectors.
Mhm.
Like, screwing up the number of the connectors I have was not a permanent mistake.
Hmm.
And also, when I first set up the framework, I screwed up. I didn't actually assemble it properly. So I tore it back down and put it back together again twice. And honestly, it wasn't that bad. Sure, it took longer for me to set it up because,
Mhm.
I messed up and I didn't install the storage the first time I assembled it. And then the second time, I didn't actually put in the memory. So I had to take it apart and put it back again.
You know how people will like go through a build thing and then they'll be like, "Oh, there's a missing screw." Your RAM's not a missing screw.
I Well, okay. So at the end, I was almost like, do I have to take this apart again? Because there was this extra part that was in there that I didn't have a description of.
Right.
No, it turns out that it's only needed if I unplug the dedicated GPU and put in the expansion shell,
I
because
see.
it's used as a dummy thing to cut off the power connection to the thing. Well, I'm never
Um.
going to unplug the GPU, so I don't care.
Right.
So I just was like, oh, okay, well, then I don't need to do anything, and I'm now done. So I didn't have to tear it down a third time to then put everything back, because in order to take the GPU out
Mhm.
and to install anything there, you have to take the keyboard out, you have to take the colorways out, you have to take the trackpad off, and then you have to like unscrew all the panel things, and then pull the top off, and then detach the bezel. Like it's a bunch of stuff to actually take apart
Right.
to like get
But
to the innards. You're not supposed to take it apart that much.
but you can, and that's what's cool about Framework. That.
That is, and actually, I'm really looking forward to what happens in 5 years,
Mhm.
because 5 years is about the time where it's like, okay, this has now gotten to be a little bit on the pokey side. What do?
Right.
Right? Like, normally the reason I hadn't bought a computer in 10 years. So we were talking about how this is like the first computer I bought in 10 years for myself.
Which is
Usually, the
wild.
reason I don't do that is because I don't like having to spend money that isn't going to wind up being a real investment.
Mhm.
And whenever I buy a computer, like I wind up having this kind of paralysis of like, have I thought through everything that I'm going to need this for? Am I going to
Yep.
be like
Yep. I know
fine
the
with
feeling.
this?
Yeah.
And it's just like with desktop compute and the last time I bought a computer, I bought a pre-built desktop. And the reason I bought a pre-built desktop was because after the Thailand floods, all the parts were so expensive that it wound up being cheaper for me to buy a pre-built than it was to assemble a computer by
Mhm.
a lot. And the thing I found myself trapped in was with the pre-built computer, the innards are so custom that I can't actually upgrade anything.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like
And
there
that
are
sucks too.
some
And
OEMs that like are better at it, but yeah, depending on who you go with, it can definitely be a big problem.
I bought a Dell.
Oh yeah, okay, then yeah, there's no hope there.
There's no hope there.